Now, the Ghana Shippers Authority will commence the implementation of the Advanced Shipment Information (ASHI) on April 2 this year, even though there are reports from the Ministry of Trade and Industry that the project has been suspended indefinitely. The Shippers Authority says it will go ahead with the implementation, adding that it is yet to receive a formal notice from the ministry on the suspension. This is Business Live. My name is Abigail Adumako Enchi, and of course we would take you through the stock market analysis. Do stay. Now, rating agency Fitch says it might be forced to downgrade Ghana's credit ratings very soon. This has been influenced by fears of excessive spending next year because of the general elections, which could worsen government's financial position. These and many more coming up in the Business News Roundup.
Rating agency Fitch says it might be forced to downgrade Ghana's credit ratings very soon. This has been influenced by fears of excessive spending next year because of the general elections, which could worsen government's financial position. The warning was contained in the agency's latest report on Ghana after the country closed the IMF bailout deal at the staff level. The General Secretary of the Industrial and Commercial Workers Union, Solomon Kote, has confirmed the layoff of 350 workers 2 months into the year due to the energy crisis. The ICU is asking government to sit up in addressing the crisis and ensure there is data for the industrial consumption of power to help with planning and scheduling of the load management programs, while it also suspends the rural electrification project to allow enough power for industry. A planned protest called by the Ghana Union of Traders Association (GUTA) in collaboration with other business groups has been called off. The protest, organized by the Joint Private Sector Consultative Business Forum consisting GUTA, the Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Ghana Automobile Dealers Association, Food and Beverages Association of Ghana, Association of Ghana Industries, the Ghana Pharmaceutical Chamber, among others, would have seen members close their shops on Wednesday, March 4. Deputy Communications Minister Tusapon says government will not extend the May 31 implementation of the Interconnect Clearinghouse system in the country despite Parliament's call for more consultation. The Parliamentary Select Committee on Communications is asking for an extension of time for further engagement with stakeholders in the telecommunications industry. But Tusapon, in an exclusive interview with Joy Business, says the consultation can take place in the 3 months leading up to the implementation date. Ghana's self-sufficiency in rice production currently stands at about 30%, leaving a shortfall of 70%. The country is expected to produce 1.6 metric tons of rice yearly. However, only 500,000 metric tons is produced every year for the past 2 years. In an exclusive interview with Joy Business, Executive Secretary of the Ghana Rice Interprofessional Body GRIP, Evan Sakite, described the production level as woefully inadequate, considering the high demand for rice. The Africa Center for Energy Policy, ACEP, has described the 250 megawatts power plant government is securing from Dubai as the worst deal. Executive Director of ACEP, Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam, told Joy News the move is crisis procurement and will not give Ghana value for money. He says Ghana will pay $700 million over a 5-year period before ownership is granted to government, while it could be bought outright at $220 million. General Secretary of the Trades Union Congress, Kofi Samoa, has bemoaned the lack of economic independence 58 years after the departure of British colonialist. He says the numerous economic challenges confronting the country indicate there is a lot to be done. President John Dramani Mahama has urged Ghanaians to remain resolute in spite of the current economic hardship the country is faced with. Speaking at the 58th Independence Parade, President Mahama acknowledged that though more challenges remain unresolved, there is no reason for Ghanaians to be saddened by the situation. He said Ghana's challenges should rather offer Ghanaians a pivot around which we galvanize ourselves into action. Two of the biggest rural banks in the country are on the verge of collapse. The Kakum Rural Bank in the Central Region and Shire Rural Bank in the Greater Accra Region are both struggling to meet withdrawal demands of their customers. Head of the Banking and Supervision in charge of rural banks at the Bank of Ghana, Raymond Amanfo, tells Joy Business the central bank is putting in place measures to address the situation.
So today we are talking about ASHI, and we are delving deeper into ASHI. Now, the Ministry of Trade and Industry last week suspended the project indefinitely after the Ministry of Transport announced April 2 as the new date for implementation. It will be recalled that the advanced shipment information, that's ASHI, was to be implemented in January this year and was shifted to March to 2nd April, and now indefinite suspension. Well, we'll be speaking with the Ghana Shippers Authority and the Association of Concerned Freight Forwarders, the Ministry of Trade and the Ministry of Transport, as we try to seek answers tonight. First, we spoke with the Shippers Authority. Take a listen.
We have said many times that the ASHI, as it is framed today, delivers a number of benefits to the shipper and to this country. The first of the issues that we have raised is that the shipper currently has only 7 days to be able to clear his goods from port, without which then he falls into demurrage and other avoidable charges. ASHI comes and delivers a promise that before the vessel arrives, all of the documentation that is required will be made available. And we believe that that would then cut down on the processes that would need to be effected after the vessel has arrived, and would therefore then help to work within the 3 days that is available. Apart from that, we are making this information available on a centralized platform, and it's accessible by all of the relevant agencies. DICs would receive this, GPHA would receive this. This information also helps the DICs to do adequate risk analysis. In all of this, what we seek to achieve is to bring a certain attention to the use of documentation for the clearance of cargo. Because currently there is an excess, dependence on physical examination, where containers are opened. At my last check, it was about close to 90% of the containers are literally opened, goods brought out and then packed back in. You can talk about the congestion that brings along. You can talk about the breakages and other, all of the issues that are associated with that kind of activity. And so if we are able to achieve even just that, the fact that everybody now would depend on documentation to clear goods, so that once the information arrives, they do the risk analysis, and then they identify that it is only 10% of the containers that come in that require opening, then we are making some progress in that regard.
So I have in the studio Dennis Amfo, who is with the Concerned Freight Forwarders Association, and he would be speaking to me on ASHI. I know that you have been demonstrating against ASHI for a while now. Last week you had to call off your demonstration because this suspension was announced, and looks like the Shippers Authority still maintains that it's important that ASHI is implemented. What do you have to say?
Well, the Shippers Authority is not the sole authority in this country. The President of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency, is the #1 gentleman and the chief executive of this country. So if he has directed the minister in charge of trade, and this is Kweku Rickett, to announce to the whole nation on Joy News that the president has directed them to suspend ASHI indefinitely. The Shippers Authority is going about saying another story. I would say then they are trying to cause confusion in the system, because if the president's directive says one thing and you're also going about saying another thing, it's causing fear and panic. And these are some of the things that causes dishonesty among the business community and the presidency. You don't do that. If you have not received any communique from the ministry, you ask for it. But you don't go on air and tell the whole nation that you are adamant and disregarding the directive from the ministry.
Well, they need a formal, communication.
You can write a letter to the ministry and tell them, probably you've heard this on radio or you've heard it on television, and what is their position. But you don't go on air and to disregard the directive from the ministry.
Now, what are you going to do now that the Shippers Authority is going ahead with the April 2 date?
Well, we will represent the president. We respect him to the fullest of the law. He says it's suspended, and it's suspended. We don't care what the Shippers Authority says. If they try to do anything otherwise, I think the president himself will call them to order.
Now, there have been a lot of reports on this, ASHI, and you keep demonstrating and you keep kicking against it now. Would we see you hit the streets again if it turns out that the Transport Ministry, we are yet to hear from them though, comes out to say that there is nothing like suspension?
Well, if we get to the bridge, we would cross it. But for now, we still think that the directive from the president is super and overpowers every other authority's decision to do it otherwise. We still stand by what the president has directed through the Deputy Minister of Trade. Because mind you, everything that hinges on trade falls under the Ministry of Trade. If you are telling shippers to do to go through a certain procedure that will affect their trade, it's the Ministry of Trade that deals with it. So if the directive comes from the president and goes to the Ministry of Trade and through the deputy minister he announces it, we don't have to wait for the Shippers Authority to get any notification or any letter from the ministry to that effect.
But Dennis, what exactly is your issue with this particular ASHI? Is it the fact that Antasa, which is a foreign agency, is involved in this whole deal?
You see, this is duplication of procedure. Now, currently, the DICs are doing a perfect job. You submit your commercial invoice and a copy of the bill of lading to them on a platform that has already been created by the GCNet. It's called the EMDA, Electronic Ministry Department and Agency Platform. Now, this platform, what you do is, before your cargo even gets into this country, you have a copy of your bill of lading, the commercial invoice, and then you send what we call the IDF, Import Declaration Form. You do this on that platform. Now, you upload a copy of your invoice and a copy of the bill of lading onto this platform. Immediately you send this IDF on the platform, the Ministry of Trade gets a copy. The destination inspection company who is supposed to work on those documents and value the cargo gets a copy. Now, the DICs goes through 6 separate methods of valuation, rigorous methods of valuation. They even have to go to source sometimes to be sure that the document you've submitted, it's genuine. After they issue what we call the Final Classification Valuation Report, the FCVR, and this is done on the same platform. And immediately they issue, the Trade Ministry gets a copy, Customs get a copy on their GCMS system, GCNet gets a copy. So this data is already captured there. Now you are telling us you are creating another platform to collect the same data. Who is going to use it? And this is going for a fee. We're already paying the DICs 1% of the CIF value, the cost, insurance, and freight of the cargo that you bring in. So if the DICs are doing the same job at a fee of 1%, why do we have to go and pay Antasa 20 euros and even register for 250 euros? Antasa sitting in Europe.
Well, the Shippers Authority has been talking, and they are saying that registration for this particular ASHI is free, and the 250 euros you're talking about is not compulsory. I think that we have to listen to Fred Esiedudate right now. He has been talking to us about the Antasa deal and what has gone in there, and what Dennis here is raising.
What we did in choosing Antasa, we went on to an international procurement process. Okay. In all of this, there were local companies that bidded. There were international companies that bidded. The process involved, analyzing what the people had done, experience in this area, and what they had done before, where, examples. We have had the team that selected Antasa had to actually visit all of, or some of the companies that were pre-qualified. You understand? So a lot of things went into the selection of Antasa. And I believe that for such a significant or serious program, you would want to choose someone who has experience in it. Antasa has been in this business for close to 20 years. And you cannot at any point discount their competence in terms of delivering good results.
Yeah, so you heard Mr. Esiedudate there.
You see, intellectual dishonesty is the highest crime. It's even more than treason. I don't need to stand here and say it. You can visit the Antasa website yourself, try to register, and they will send you an email back telling you before your account is activated, you would have to deposit 250 euros. I'm not manufacturing this from somewhere. I tried registering myself and they sent me that email. Now, assuming I'm just importing one single container, and that is all I'm going to do for the year, and they take my 250 euros sitting there in their account, how am I going to get my refund? They are not telling Ghanaians the truth. Look at the charge sheet very well. They tell us that you pay 20 euro per 4 containers on a bill of lading. If you divide it, it's simple. It's 5 euro per container. So why don't you tell Ghanaians pay 5 euro per container?
What baffles my mind at this point is that the Shippers Authority talks about engagement, and we want to know from your side, have you been engaged throughout this process? It started 2011.
This is what.
How come you are now raising such issues?
We have raised concerns. Listen, the last time we met them on the 13th of February, but then we had already met them. Our former president, Carlos Ahinkra, had raised a lot of issues with this LI itself. Okay, and then they said, fine, the LI will pass, but the operational procedure upon implementation of ASHI, they will come back to us so that we would all sit down and then they would take our input. They never did so until 13th of February. You are implementing a policy on the 1st of March, and then you come meet us on the 13th of February.
Okay, and so let's just go and listen to the Shippers Authority, then we'll come back and take your final take.
We engage with all of the stakeholders before the passage of the law. And following the passage of the law, we have continued to engage. You can understand that, issues come up one way or the other. And what we have sought to do is that in each of the cases, we meet the organization one-on-one. But you can understand that it is not every member of the organization that would be present. And consequently, if somebody else has an issue that perhaps has not been well explained to them, you know, by that leadership or by that group, it could then also, you know, raise issues. And so all of what we are doing again is that, and for instance, that is what informed the media seminar that we organized last week, because we realized that much as we have engaged with the leadership of the various groups, you know, if you still have these agitations from the grassroots, it means therefore that something needs to get down that is not getting down. And so we have engaged with our media partners with a view to ensuring that they are able to sell the message, you know, to everybody. And then by so doing, ensure that we are able to, you know, achieve the results that we seek.
Okay, so Dennis, you heard Mr. Siedu that he's saying that you have been in some sort of communication.
See, and that's what I'm telling you, intellectual dishonesty. He's just trying to say something to please the public. You met us and we gave you reasons and why we think ASHI should even be suspended so that we do a lot more deliberations. You told us you're going to go and come back. That was on the 13th of February. And they never came. And then you tell the whole public that you've met leadership and the grassroots are complaining. It's a lie. I'm a member of the technical committee of GIF, the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders. And these matters are always referred to the technical committee because we deal with the technicalities and the operational activities on the field. And this matter was never referred to us. And engaging stakeholders. They meet Guta and tell Guta they've met AGI and AGI says it's okay. So Guta says, no, we have problems with this. They come to GIF, meet us and tell us, oh, we met Guta. Guta said it's okay. So you can also go.
So they didn't meet you as a joint consultative.
They never did that because they knew if they do that, there will be problems because there are problems with ASHI.
Okay, so now you still stick to what the president has
said
told
exactly.
Kweku Hagan,
and he has announced
and I would like to tell viewers that we've been trying to reach Mr. Rickett Hagan, but he is not picking up his call. And he assured and told me personally that he got the directive from the president and the suspension is on. Whatever happens with this, ASHI would let viewers know. But for now, we'll take a break. And when we come back, we'll give you some analysis on the stock market. Do stay.
Be a part of the news. The breaking news, the developing news, the social news, and what's trending. Get connected. Get interactive. Joy News Interactive. Weekdays, 6:30 p.m. on Joy News.
Welcome back. And so we have Bertha Atubiga here, and she has been doing the analysis with us. You're very welcome to Business Live, Bertha.
Thank you very much.
How are you doing?
By the grace of God,
looking great as usual.
Thank you.
So take us through, how has the stock market been performing over the week?
Well, last week we saw the major indices on the stock market, that's the composite index and the financial stock index, dropping marginally, not significantly, on their week open levels. And then that is with the composite index, it went down by 0.20%, while the financial stock index went down by only 0.03%. So it reduced their average returns, or let me say it moved it a little from the negatives, so we reduced it to negative 3.87% and then negative 3.63% respectively on the stock market. However, we also saw the value of the exchange, that's market capitalization, also declining by 0.31%. That is 199.31 million Ghana cedis. Despite this downward trend that we saw with the major indices and the value of the exchange, we saw the market being very in terms of the volume and the value traded on the stock market. We saw the volume of shares traded, that is the shares that exchange hands, going up by 48.62%. That is we saw an additional 19,809.59 shares adding up to what we had last week. And then we also saw what they call the value, we saw over 1 million shares trading as compared to what we saw last week, about 889,756 shares on the market. And then we also saw the value going up by 29.26%. That is an additional 578,610.62 Ghana cedis was added to the week open level of 1,977,340.82 Ghana cedis. Now, aside this, we also saw the market trading in terms of the gainers and the losers on the stock market. We recorded more equities gaining as compared to the losers on the market, but we still saw this marginal decline in the major indices on the market. Ask me why. We saw this major equity, that is ETI, dropping a peswa on its week open price, and ETI happens to have the highest issued shares on the stock market in terms of millions. We have 21,313.96 million shares on the stock market, and that is quite huge. So with such equities, a plus or a minus in the share price on the market affects the major indices. But sometimes too, when we see major equities that are really doing so well on the stock market, like Standard Chartered Bank, EBG, HFC, these equities also help to build and also increase or move the indices upwards on the stock market.
But it's quite interesting what's happening with ETI, because they've been doing well.
Yeah, ETI has been doing well. ETI still has the potential of doing so well on the stock market. Usually we don't look at only the short-term loss of the equity, but it has the potential. It is one of the equities that actually will do well. But I'm not saying this week we have other equities that we are looking out for as analysts. We have done our own research, historical analysis to see the equities that investors should look out for in this week.
Now let's look at the gainers of the market.
Okay, so as I said, we recorded 7 equities gaining on the stock market. Sorry, and we had Standard Chartered Bank preference share adding 5.08% to investors' capital. The equity is now trading at 0.62 Ghana cedis, that's 62 pesos per share on the stock market. We also saw CAB, which is a very liquid equity on the market. That is, it can be easily attained, or it's always available on the stock market when you need it. It has so much, though it is very liquid, so you don't see the price appreciation so much on the stock market. But this week it happened to add 5 pesos to its week open price, and that is quite impressive looking at its performance in the previous weeks. We also saw SIC, which has been down for some time now from the beginning of the year, adding 4.55% to investors' capital. Ghana Commercial Bank, which is one of the equities that investors should also look out for, also went up by 1.94% on its week open price of 5.15 Ghana cedis to close at 5.25 Ghana cedis. So when you look at value terms, or in terms of the pesos, you can say that Ghana Commercial Bank was the top gainer on the stock market.
And I'm sure Ghana Commercial Bank is the equity that viewers should look out for.
Or not only Ghana Commercial Bank, we also look at EBG, we're looking out for Standard Chartered Bank, BOPP, and CAL as well. These are equities that you should look out for this week in the stock market.
Thank you very much, Bertha, for joining us here.
Okay,
and that'll be all for Business Live. My name is Abigail Adomakoenchi. Do stay on for more programs coming up.